Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks, and you are checking out a massive tip and trick tutorial video for ADSR. In this video, I'm going to show you a method or technique that I like to use to create depth and movement to my sounds, and sometimes just to change the overall timbre and feeling of a sound in general. And to do this, we're going to be looking at the ring mod inside of the modulation oscillator. So the modulation oscillator in Massive is one of the, in my opinion, most important parts of this whole left-hand side of the synth. The oscillator section, the tone generation section. We have your three oscillators, your modulation oscillator, and your noise os. And why I think it's so important is you can really do some cool things to your sounds here. And I know it's kind of typified as this is where you go to make the big FM basses, and that's totally true. But the ring mod allows you to make some subtle changes to your sounds that can really make them stand out in a mix or just add some life to them, make them sound less digital and sterile. So in this example, we're going to be adding it to a pad sound to create some movement that is reminiscent of a pan or tremolo type effect, but it's not in the same ballpark. It's in the same ballpark, but it's just a little bit different, a little bit more subtle. Now, what is ring mod? For those of you who don't know, it stands for ring modulation, and it is a fairly old effect. Guitarists use it, a lot of synths have it. There's plugins dedicated just to ring modulation. What it's going to do is it's going to potentially make your sound really metallic or bell sounding. That's kind of what it's associated with. But if you use it sparingly and slightly, it can add some nice timbre and color to your sound. Now, to do that, the ring modulator is going to multiply two signals together to create brand new frequencies that you're going to be hearing. These frequencies are the sum and differences of the input frequency. So for instance, let's copy this preset and I will go File, New Sound. We will turn on a sine wave. Turn on the modulation oscillator. Do you hear how it gets louder? Or not louder, but it gets higher in pitch, but I'm not changing the pitch. It's because it's adding those new frequencies, that new signal. So middle gives you a little bit of the low and the high. It's actually a blend between those. Do you hear that? If you double click, well, not double click, but double click will take it down to the bottom, which sounds like this, which is essentially like it's off. And then up at the top, it's high. And if you take it to the middle, it's a blend between those two. So it's actually a great way to add some high end to a bass or some low end to a lead as well. So let's paste back in that pad and I'll play the chord. Now there's not a lot of movement in this chord here, and let's take off the Unisano pitch cutoff. And I'll take off the phaser for now. So there's not a lot going on to create any noticeable amount of like detune and unison type feel or unison type effect. We're going to do that with the modulation oscillator. So I'm going to choose which oscillator I want to apply this to, because you can only apply it to oscillators 1, 2, or 3, not all three at once. So let's solo some of these oscillators here and play the chord. So the bulk of the chord is coming from oscillators 1 and 2. Oscillator 3 is just kind of give it that texture. It's a high pitch one. So that is the one I want to use it on. So we're going to select it. We're going to go to an LFO. We're going to go to the 6 LFO. And let's choose a vibrato wave. And for the rate, we'll turn it up. And we're going to modulate into the ring modulation depth. So it's going to go back and forth between an unaltered signal where there's no blend between these two new signals and the higher blend amount. So let's turn the amp up. All right, so that's actually kind of like a tremolo style effect, but let's turn the rate down now. And the amp down. So there's some nice slight movement. We'll bring back in that pitch cutoff. And that's really adding some life to the sound. But we still need to bring in oscillators 1 and 2 again to really round out the whole thing. I was showing you this in parts so you can see how this affects the sound. Let's listen to the whole sound now. Oscillators 1, 2, and 3 with the modulation oscillator on with the input set to the oscillator 3. So it's adding some nice movement to the synth, but without overdoing it and taking away from the initial character of the pad itself. So there you guys go. There's some tips and tricks for using the ring mod inside of Massive. It doesn't always have to be a metallic or bell type of sound. You can use it to soften up your sounds and to create some nice movement in them. If you have any questions or comments, let me know below. I'd actually love to hear your methods or your tips and tricks if you have any of using the ring mod in Massive. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Sourx. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.